Hello, everyone. Welcome to the VML. It is wonderful to see you all this evening. I'm Skybilz, and I'm here with NileJoanRivers as well. Wonderful to have you here with us this evening. And a few things to take care of here on behalf of Wizards of the Coast. We are sponsored by Wizards of the Coast. We are an 11-week-long MTGA league which showcases the talents of amazing people of marginalized genders within the Magic community. This is going to be week 2 of the playoffs of season 13. There are 128 total players. Players are divided into 16 divisions and endure 7 weeks of round robin play. So, what are these players playing for? In addition to cash prizing, the top 16 get a qualifier weekend badge, and the top 8 get RC invites, and they get to compete in our capstone event, the VML Championships, where the top 8 players from seasons 11, 12, and 13 duke it out, and the top 2 players will receive invitations to the following Magic the Gathering Pro Tour. And with that being said, Nile, it's wonderful to have you here. How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, thank you. It is great to be here as always. Real quick before we get too far into things, we wanted to touch on something. Last week, unfortunately, marked the passing of Jonathan Brostoff from CubeCon, a very well-known, well-loved member of the Magic community. He was a loving friend, father, and husband, and he will be missed by all of us in Magic and countless other people as well. So we just wanted to take a quick moment here to remember him, as many of us were friends with J-Bro and are obviously devastated by his passing.
Yes, thank you so much. Now we appreciate the beautiful words, and again, just condolences to all of the Magic community. Such a wonderful person, and will be very much missed, very much. So again, thank you. So we want to talk a little bit before we get started also about what's going on in Magic right now. We have an enormous set that will impact standard for weeks to come after this. Maybe not necessarily the VML, but we do have those VML championships coming up soon too. So Niall, anything from Foundations kind of catch your eye?
There's a lot in Foundations that I think is very cool and exciting for Standard. I mean, obviously, we have the what is it? The Bloodthirsty Conqueror, is that its name? Yeah, the
Yes,
when
yes.
when an opponent loses life, you gain that much life, which creates some very easy to set up infinite kill combos. A card that I'm particularly excited about is Kiora, the Rising Tide. A lot of people calling it Blue Fable the Mirror Breaker. Not quite as good, but pretty exciting. Pretty exciting card. Draw 2, discard 2 when she enters. You end up making an 8/8 octopus. Very cool. The last card that I'm personally very excited about that I think a lot of people disagree with me on is Loot Exuberant Explorer.
Hmm.
I think any card in Magic that says play an extra land is generally very strong. And I think adding a sort of creature tutor on top of that is really powerful. So I'm excited to see how all of those cards perform. Is there anything in Foundations you're particularly excited for?
Llanowar Elf
No,
or Llanowar
absolutely,
Elves.
absolutely,
It's a classic, right? I
absolutely.
mean, big fan of Llanowar Elves. There's also a Johnny Color the Pride that's back. That's
Mhm,
going to be
mhm.
good in those kind of lower curve decks. And again, we don't get to see a lot of planeswalkers with lower curves. We do have Lily of the Veil currently,
Yeah.
Liliana of the Veil, who may or may not make an appearance tonight. You know, Lily, she likes to show up to many standard parties. But yeah, I'm interested to see if Llanowar Elf can kind of bring back those big stompy decks. We haven't seen it in a while, so I'm seeing and very interested in knowing, will cards like that make an impact? Will cards like Terror of the Peaks make an
Mhm,
impact once more?
mhm.
That very scary card, by the way, and that can be used in a multitude of decks, not just aggro. So without further ado, let's take a look at the metagame breakdown pre-foundations. Let's see what we have here. Mono Red Prowess, Gruul Prowess. All right, a lot of prowess here. Dimir Midrange, Temur Otters. Oh my gosh, such a cute name. I love critters and animals. So apologies all night if I'm like, oh my gosh, look at these cute animals. Dimir Demons, again, maybe not cute and colorly, very fierce creatures though. And then we have Dimir controlled Rakdos lizards. And oh my goodness, look at all of those fringe decks listed underneath too. So, Niall, what do you think is going to make the biggest impact pre-foundations here in this VML playoffs?
Well, I think that we have seen these prowess decks really dominating not only standard but also pioneer. And I think anytime we have a deck that is like very similar between two formats like that and it's doing well in both of them, I think it is a huge threat that you need to respect and appreciate. And so I think the prowess decks are very scary, can just have these explosive wins that feel more or less impossible to stop. So I personally would be most worried about those. I'm very interested in the Temur Otters deck. I think that there is a lot of potential for that to be a front runner. Would not be surprised if we saw multiple copies of Temur Otters in the top 8. Um, that's I think those are my big ones.
All right, awesome. And again, also one that I forgot to talk about, the mono white token control. I've seen that one floating around
Mhm,
in the standard
mhm.
and the standard letter a little bit. That would be one that I would also keep an eye on. So, without further ado, let's dive into our first match this week of the VML playoffs, week 2. And we have Caczarn, and they have registered Temur Otters. We were just talking about Temur Otters, and I'm very excited to hear more about this deck again. Storm Chaser's Talent, Thunder Trap Trainer, Valley Flood Caller here. Lots of cards influenced by, and it doesn't surprise me, our wonderful, cuddly plane. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just big fan of Blue Burrow. Big fan of Blue Burrow. So we also have cards. I'm seeing some up the beanstalk action here going on in the sideboard. So again, we were talking about Team Marauders, and you think it's going to be a front runner, Nile. What in particular does Team Marauders bring to the table in this matchup?
I mean, I think that Temur Otters just in general brings a lot of the appeal of some of the I guess I would say least fair decks, Like it has ways of making just an insurmountable board. It has ways of making an insurmountable amount of mana. It has things to do with all that mana. It's getting to use up the beanstalk, which I think is just an absurdly powerful card if you are able to wield it well. And it's just one of those decks that can kind of have this explosive kill you out of nowhere sort of line. And I think that is very, very powerful, especially in a format like Standard.
Yeah, and we were talking about powerful. So, how did Caczarn choose the deck for this week? Deck is fun, absolutely busted. Sounds like a good summary of everything Niall was talking about in terms of like using some of the most powerful cards in Standard, right?
Mhm.
So, their opponent, who are they playing against? Let's see. All right. Well, we have none other than Nicole Dubin and Temur Otter. Oh my gosh, Otters on. Okay, this is gonna be hard to root for. We have two cuddly sets of decks here, and again, just very powerful deck. Very similar 75. There might be some
Yeah,
differences
this is
according to. Yeah, go ahead.
this is an almost 75 card mirror. So the main decks are identical. The only difference is that in Nicole's sideboard, she has a Screaming Nemesis and a Volcanic Spite, where Caczarn in that place has two Scorching Dragonfires. So extremely, extremely similar lists, just two cards off.
Wow. I don't think I've seen a list that similar here in the VML. Well, let's see it. Let's see how the almost exact mirror matches, and let's see if any of the two cards that are different are they going to be mirror breakers or not. Here we go into the first match of the night, and there is a very lack of real estate there for Caczarn, going to take the mulligan. Meanwhile, Nicole, well, that one's a little tough too, right? Again, just a lack of land on both things. Which again, if you're playing Teamer, you think of Teamer, you think of the lands that hit hard. We have Enduring Vitality, which generates lands also. Now, what do you think of both of these openers and the difficult situation Nicole is in as a result?
I think Nicole's hand is tricky in that I think a lot of people would be very tempted to keep it because it has all the trappings of one of those seductive little hands where you're just like, oh, but if I draw one or two lands, like I'm good forever. I think
All right.
I
We have
think
a
I think it's risky, but it is high risk, high reward. So, in keeping it, she has the potential to really pop off. I mean, she's got her turn one play in the talent, which is extremely strong. She's got the up the beanstalk. She drew the second land, never didn't have it. Easy game.
You stole the words right out of my mouth. Of course, never didn't have it here. So it looks like we're going to see Storm Chasers hit the battlefield first again. Our wonderful Otter class going on here. 1 Otter hits the field. And now it looks like Hexarn's drawing one too many lands. But is there such a thing in a teamer deck of drawing too many lands? Besides, of course, the obvious.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is with the bitter reunion onto Caxarn is able to dump one of those lands and get some hopefully more effective cards, which looks like we were able to get with this Torch the Tower and Analyze the Pollen, but drawing more lands, that is tough. We are starting to see a little bit of flooding from Caxarn.
Yeah, down the middle for one, down to 18 for Caczarn. And let's see what they plan here. Looks like going to go for Analyze the Pollen. Well, thinking about it. Yep, looks like it's going to happen here. Analyze the Pollen. Again, for more land, because why not? Again, it's Teamer. Teamer loves to generate land. And
Well, we got to
let's,
get those lands out of our deck.
yep,
Got to stop drawing them.
absolutely, yeah. So Kexar going to pass the turn, keeping that torch to the tower up. Now at Nicole's turn, and now we see the fabled passage, but that means that Nicole is likely going to be short one land for this turn.
Yeah, not exactly what Nicole was hoping to pick up in terms of lands here, but also keeping a one lander, I feel like she is in a position where, a little bit beggars can't be choosers. And I think she is just happy to have drawn and secured another land.
Yes, and in doing so, analyze the pollen, activates prowess. Now these otters are getting a little bigger, a little ready to generate some mischief. And now there is another land on the field, which will have Torch the Tower now be active as well. Down the middle for 3, connects. And now we're back over to, oh, hang on for a second. Hang on. I was mistaken. It looks like we are going to get a little bit of adventure action here from Questing Druid. So a nice amount of real estate here generated, as well as creating literal real estate through the enduring vitality that is going to hit the board.
Yeah, really nice pickup here from Caczarn. Also worth noting, looks like choosing to hold up Torch the Tower over casting another Analyze the Pollen.
Yep, so Torch the Tower is now active. Back over to Nicole's turn. Now, again, that Fabled Passage will go to the field untapped since there will be 4 lands on the board. And it seems like Nicole is drawing the right amount here of lands and spells, which is nice. Again, not sure how many lands are exactly needed in a deck like Temur Otters, but 4 seems like a good amount here. And also the Enduring Vitality, which, oh my gosh, seeing double here again. We have a mirror match, will hit the field, which will generate extra mana now for Nicole, as those otters are there and probably again going to create some level of mischief here. But there is Torch the Tower, which is going to be used on, looks like, the Enduring Vitality.
Wow, and choosing to sacrifice your own Enduring Vitality for the bargain cost of Torch the Tower. I actually really like this from Caczarn because it puts them in a position where Nicole has this more or less face up Torch the Tower, and she cannot, in response, exile your Enduring Vitality.
Yep, so torching the tower here again, enduring vitalities. Going to be turning into those enchantments on both sides here. Cats are drawing up. Finally, we have our first otter sighting here on Caxarn's side of the field, as we have the Storm Chaser talent for Caxarn now. So, we're approaching probably what would arguably be the midpoint of game one. Now, what needs to be done to kind of be the mirror breaker here? Who would have the advantage bar on their side of the screen currently?
Well, getting rid of these vitalities is incredibly important, which is why we're seeing these players fight so hard over them. Really want to highlight the play Nicole made last turn while her vitality was being threatened by Caxarn's Torch the Tower. She chose to just cast her own Torch the Tower, targeting her own vitality, sacrificing her own vitality. So that way we could get out from the exile of the Torch the Tower and keep it on the field. That is, I think, a hard line to know to take and really shows expertise with the deck. And now we are in a position where Nicole has the vitality, Caxarn does not. And I think that gives Nicole quite a bit of the edge here.
Yeah, the vitality was saved, but again, it's not settled on the field now, so to speak, right? So again, with Nicole having the vitality down, also we have it up the beanstalk here. You were talking, Niall, earlier about the importance of up the beanstalk, especially who can put one down in this mirror match about midway through game one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, very powerful card, especially if you have some easy ways to uh, activate it, which this deck does have. I don't remember the name of the card. Let me pull it up real quick. This town ain't big enough. A 5 mana instant that costs 3 less if it targets a permanent you control and bounces a couple permanents. So, we do have a couple ways to cheat out some card draw off of the beanstalk, and also just good to have another enchantment that you can sacrifice to torch the tower in cases like this where you want to take care of these enduring vitalities.
Yeah, we've had one vitality, but what about second one? And it looks like there's going to be a thought here involving tapping the outer for mana and maybe using this bitter reunion to give both vitalities haste, enabling for a pretty powerful swing here. Again, important in the mirror match, and that is exactly what Caxarn is going to do. They are prepared to possibly swing, and yeah, this is exactly what they're going to do, and possibly maybe a questing druid appearance at the end of the turn.
Yeah, very, very strong play here. I wonder if there was ever a moment when that was happening that, uh, Nicole was concerned about dealing with these vitalities sooner.
Yeah, looking to torch the tower again here on one of the vitalities. And again, this is something that we're going to keep an eye out on during this Temur Otters mirror match because, again, the vitality just being that much of a key to winning here. And again, we're seeing that priority here by Nicole. Again, torch the tower on the vitality. Let's see what happens. Going to scry to the bottom.
Yep, and then we'll exile the vitality. Yeah, the Torch the Towers, keeping the vitalities from coming back as enchantments is so extremely relevant to this matchup.
And we have a Valley Flood Caller draw here from Nicole. What do you think about that draw, Nile?
Yeah, I mean, very, very strong card for Nicole here. Can definitely put her in a position to, either close out this game or just put Caczarn in a position where, you know, they are so far on the back foot that the game is effectively closed out, especially as we're seeing even more lands being drawn from Caczarn.
Yeah, speaking of the back foot here, again, Caczarn just running out of resources quickly here with that land draw. That is a paw patch formation on the Storm Chaser, and now this is leaving a very, very sparse field for them. Going to play the Questing Druid to try to add to that, but as Niall said here, this is looking like a pretty close deal here on game one, just due to the flood, if anything, on Caczarn's and of course Nicole's pretty good hand. Is that another torch to the tower is drawn by Nicole?
Jeez, that is brutal. Nicole has all of the tools that she needs to really just make Caxarn's life miserable. And as we see here, she's making this attack, which if Caxarn was not more aware of this deck in this matchup, they could have easily gone to block it and got blown out by these otters and the prowess. And
Oh, wow. Yes, torch the tower again, taking care of just even more resources in the form of the questing druid. And Nicole looks like she's ready to go for the finishing blow here. Again, I know the life total doesn't reflect that, but this strong board presence by Nicole is going to be very tough for Caxarn to overcome. Is there anything that Caxarn can draw at this point that can save it, or has there just been too much real estate on Caxarn's end and just all of the literal fire here on Nicole's end?
yeah, I'm looking at the list to see if there is really any way out, but I mean, not real. I mean,
Yeah, that's not it. That is
Nicole's just so far ahead at this point, and there's not a ton of like play from behind tools that this deck has, and I mean, Thunder Trap Trainer, that is just an incredible pull for Nicole here. Yeah, I can't imagine a world where Nicole doesn't close this game out.
yeah, and the otters keep multiplying and with that off-string trigger, and that's gonna be it for game number 1. Nicole takes the win here, so, again, we only have a couple cards separating these 2 decks. What can Caxarn do to come back, and what can really be done with these sideboards here? Is this just a matter of rock, paper, scissors at this point?
I think Caczarn, as far as like who is more favored post board, is possibly significantly more favored. And that is because these two cards that Caxarn has that Nicole doesn't are Scorching Dragonfire, which deals 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If it would die this turn, exile it instead. So we saw how important those Torch the Towers were to the matchup. We saw how hard both players were fighting to keep their enduring vitalities on the field. So having an extra tool to get rid of those, I think gives Caxarn a bit of an edge over Nicole. Now, Nicole in one of those slots does have a Volcanic Spite, which is helpful. I mean, it's still doing 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker, but it is not exiling the creature or planeswalker. So I think, in a very good position for Caczarn to be able to bring in more of these exile effects that hit, I think, every creature in the deck.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at some of the sideboard options as well. And is it just one of those you just have to put I mean, to state the obvious, mind you, it's you have to put as much on the board as possible early. I mean, it's not like you have to worry about a super massive white up. I mean, we see a couple of cards here that deals damage, but nothing quite like, a Sunfall would, for instance. So, what is going to be I mean, we have the Scorching Dragonfire, but any other mirror breakers we might be missing here, Niall?
Let's see, taking more of a look here. I mean, you can bring in stuff like Into the Flood Maw, perchance. Paw Patch Formation, I think, is a very good card in the matchup. Would not be surprised to see both players bringing that in. Possibly Pyroclasm.
Yep, that's the one I was thinking of. I saw Nicole hovering over Pyroclasm, and it's one of those like, I mean, it could be good, but it can also be like kind of bad at the same time. Oh, I saw that screenshot. I saw that screenshot. I see what you're doing. And again, I think that's wonderful, kind of reflecting over one's own sideboard. We're always thinking about growth here when we play Magic, right?
Yeah.
So I love
Well,
that again, taking a screenshot, thinking like, okay, what can I do differently, win or lose here? So I absolutely love that.
these these are some hands. I
Okay.
am I mean,
Dang.
I think both of these sevens to me feel like snap keeps. Now, I don't have like the level of experience with this deck that either of these players do. So maybe there's something they know that I don't. But to me, these seem like two obviously incredible hands. I think Nicole's hand is probably a little bit better because we have the talent into, the torch, into the vitality. But I think the double vitality is also very relevant for Caczarn. However, the very interesting thing going on here is both players have the exact number of Torch the Towers in hand that their opponent has vitalities in hand.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just it's a very interesting spot. And I think I would not be surprised if we saw a repeat of the line that Nicole ended up taking in the first game of torching her own vitality to keep it on the board.
Yeah, and if there's anything I've learned, especially from you, Niall, here watching this match, this is my first time seeing Temur Otters in action.
Mhm.
I love it so far. It's the more vitality, the better. And if you don't have a way to stop that vitality, regardless of matchup, mirror match or not, it seems like a person who's going to be without the vitalities will be in a world of pain. However, there are the two Torch the Towers in Nicole's hand, so this should be an interesting one. Caczarn has opted to keep. They seem very satisfied with their hand. Let's see what Nicole does.
Yeah, I think if Caxarn, like if the Fabled Passage was like a Carpools in Forest or whatever, if it was any untapped red source, I think we would be maybe in a better spot. Or even better if that Thundertrap trainer was a Storm Chaser's talent, then I think Caxarn would be very much ahead in terms of these hands. But I think I think Nicole might have the edge on these two hands, but I think it's very close.
And they look very close as well. I mean,
Yeah.
got equal amount of lands. We have just the difference between the Storm Chaser and, like you said before, too. I bet Caxarn wishes they did have that Storm Chaser in hand, but
Mhm.
again, looks like a very good starting hand for both players. So in this game number two, again, Torch and the Vitality kind of being key thing. Is there anything else? What would both players prefer to draw after this? Like, what would be the next good draw for each hand?
I mean, Caxarn still really wants a Storm Chaser's talent because the Torch of the Tower is extremely good, but it is best when we are able to bargain it. So, being able to sacrifice, a Storm Chaser's talent or whatever is, ideal. I think really any enchantment or token that we can put on the board is is what we are looking for. So what we don't want to happen is we get to the vitality turn and we can't actually get rid of Nicole's vitality.
Yeah, and certainly not an abundance of lands either, kind of like what we saw last time. That's certainly
Yeah.
something both players would like to avoid, especially with the vitalities in hand, right? Like the land
Mhm.
generation is already going to be present.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so it looks like Caczarn keeps the hand again here. And so turn one for Caczarn. Do you go use the break the fable to have the ability to use the red, I assume?
I think you have to. I can't
Mhm.
imagine what else you would really have going on here. Um, I think that's gotta be it. But another very critical point of the Storm Chaser's talent opening over, not being able to start that way. Oh, choosing the Sanctum.
Mhm.
Very interesting, very interesting. Wanting to keep the Fable around for a turn where they know more about what they need, perhaps. Um, but yeah, starting with the Storm Chaser's talent means that when you play your Vitality on 3, you have another mana available because you have the creature, which, is also, I imagine, part of why Caczarn is, getting this creature on the board.
Now that trainer may have saved things here. If you saw the cards revealed, oh my goodness, that is not a sequence of cards you want by any stretch of the imagination. So we don't think about the things that save the game. That might be along a longer stretch, assuming that Caczarn can stabilize. And again, I know that seems weird to say that in the first couple turns, but stabilize the board, stabilize so many different factors going on that is something we may want to reflect on down the road. But anyways, we go to Nicole's turn, and oh, of course, we have our favorite rat baker in hand. Big fan of that card's more or less used to finish. I mean, you generate all the mana and you just go with all the
Mhm,
rats.
mhm.
So vitality here hitting Nicole's board. And again, those torch the towers going to be a big X factor here for Nicole early on in game number two.
Yeah, now fortunately, because we were able to play the, um, trainer on 2, we have the mana up, and we can sacrifice our own vitality, and both players are going to end up with their vitalities as enchantments.
Yeah, well said, well stated there. So again, vitalities on both sides, and that is a third vitality
Oh.
from Caxarn, a spicy draw, wouldn't you say, Niall?
Yeah, and I will note that in that exchange, both players lose a Torch the Tower, both players lose their vitalities as creatures, but Nicole also loses an Otter. So ultimately, that exchange favored Caxarn, even if ever so slightly, but those tiny little edges, they add up. And, right now it really feels like Caxarn is a bit advantaged here.
Yeah, and very quickly advantage too. We see a third. Yes, you are seeing triple otters now. More otters, more fun. Three storm chasers now on Nicole's side, and a song and a torch. But again, as Niall stated, Caxarn's in a very, very good position right now, given the sheer number of vitalities and not cracking the fabled passage here. What do you think about that move, Niall?
Yeah, so cracking the fabled passage does expose you for a moment, where Nicole can respond to the cracking of the fabled passage, and then the only mana you have to work with is the one that you can tap the uh, the otter with. So I think it's totally reasonable, especially when it doesn't really matter when we crack it. To just be patient with it and do it on our turn where we still have plenty of mana to work with.
Nicole immediately cracks the fabled passage. And let's see what she does. A lot of mana being generated here. Looks like going for level 2 on one of the Storm Chasers talent. And let's see if Caczarn does anything to respond. What do you think is their best bet here? I'm seeing this town ain't big enough. If you're Caczarn, what are you exactly looking to respond to in this turn, especially if you're less familiar with the Temur Otter matchup?
Yeah, so you're probably wanting to bounce, I mean, exactly these. The Storm Chaser's talent that's being leveled up, so that way Nicole has just wasted mana, and also the Vitality, because Nicole will have to, if she wants to play it this turn, tap out her Otters right now and also her last remaining land. And then once she does that, uh, we are in a position where we can use our last mana to torch the tower, get rid of Nicole's Vitality, and she doesn't have the mana to respond and stop us.
All right, so we're going to see that plan in action here. Otters have the prowess trigger first. And we're
It looks like
again, Caczarn keeping an eye on that torch tower. Go ahead now.
looks like Nicole chose to torch um, the trainer instead of the Vitality, which I think is a very heads up play because that is not a creature that we can sacrifice to a torch of our own. So it's guaranteed that we will get through and you know get rid of that creature, whereas targeting the Vitality, that's not guaranteed. So kind of making the best of a pretty difficult situation that Caxarn has put her into.
Yeah, Caczarn only knows about the vitality, does not know about the song in hand. And again, this is a spot where mana also may not be such a bad situation as that gorge can go down. And then there's just the song left in hand. So if anybody has a calculator, there's a lot of rats that can be created very, very soon. I think we're going to see more from the Storm Chasers first. But again, for anyone keeping in mind, it's a lot of rats.
Yeah, and we don't really have a way to respond to this level up of the Storm Chaser's talent, but could potentially take a moment to get rid of Nicole's Vitality.
Torch the tower being used as well with bargain.
Really interested to see which of these permanents Caxarn ends up bargaining away. None of them.
Oh wow.
Very interesting spot here.
Oh, and again, we were talking about excessive lands being drawn here. This is a very, very rough predicament. Again, Caxarn doesn't know it yet, but this is a tough position.
Yeah, very interested in why we would attack with our creatures here to let the vitalities trade. I'm positive that Caxarn is correct. I just don't have the expertise in the Otters deck to know why that's the move.
Certainly looks like we're going to be seeing another Torch the Tower used on the Vitality.
Right? And the question is simply, will Caxarn sacrifice the vitality in response? I think this is good. I don't think we really need to when we have two vitalities already there. Their effects do not stack or anything, so you know, having two is already a bit of a backup. Now that's an interesting draw.
Is it rat time? That is the question everyone's mind right now. Two in hand for Caxarn here. Do you fully ship this now?
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing about playing the song when you have the vitality is you get all these rats that are also lands. And so it's almost like free to play, right? Like you just
Mhm.
make a ton of rats, and then if you have other spells you want to cast, you tap all these rats to cast your other spells. I don't know if Nicole even really wants to cast this town ain't big enough. Possibly would
Hmm.
want to bounce some of her own things.
That's a good point. So looking at this town ain't big enough here as Nicole is in the tank. Oh, and a full ship from Nicole here down the middle. This is going to be a lot of damage, putting
That's
it
11,
lightly.
I think.
Yeah. Down to 7 for Caczarn. Let's see what they draw. It's not a bad one, but is it going to be enough given the sheer size of Nicole's board?
I mean, with this town ain't big enough, Nicole is just so insulated to everything. The only thing that could really save Caxarn right now is like a pyroclasm.
Yeah, Storm Chaser's talent being played for Caxarn, and again, just not a heavy board presence by any means. And things are looking very good for Nicole right now. Also has this town ain't big enough. Another land, not really necessary, but this town ain't big enough. Should be enough for Nicole to claim victory here.
Yeah, should close it out easy.
I love those otter tokens.
They're so cute.
They're waving. Hi.
Yeah, and looks like that is gonna be game. So congratulations to Nicole for taking down the Otter Mirror.
Well, Nicole ought to know, excuse me, that she is going to be entering the top 16. I'm sorry, I had to give at least one, Nile. I
Of
held
course, of
on to my
course.
puns until now, but I couldn't help it. So, GG to both players though. Heck of a match, heck of a mirror, and I think it just comes down to again who can establish those resources on the board, hold the vitalities. Although I do believe, and you can correct me on this, I believe Caxarn may have seen more vitalities, but you only need one to generate that mana.
Yeah, I mean, as we talked about at the beginning when we were looking at those hands, Caxarn had more vitalities, but Nicole had more Torch the Towers, and Nicole started with the talent, which just puts the vitality in a much better position. And yeah, very, very interesting game, very well played by both players, and congrats again to Nicole for taking it down.
Fantastic match. Now that we've seen all of these otters, let's see what else standard and the very next match holds for us. We'll see how many more otters there are. Okay, this looks like an otter free deck. This is Golgari Midrange, played by Maria, and she has chosen again the very standard of standard right now. Golgari Midrange will always be there, especially with a lot of these essentials out here. You have the Dread Knight, just you cannot beat that value. And just again, this is a deck where you look at it, you know what to expect from it. And yet, I'm telling you now, I'm looking at those Nisses in the sideboard, Nile, and I am terrified. That card, there is just no way to prepare yourself for it. Also, have the demons as well. What do you think
Mhm.
overall? This is a star studded lineup here for Golgari.
Yeah, well, I will start off by saying I am just very personally thrilled to be commentating a Maria match.
Mhm.
I met Maria in my first season of the VML. I put together like a little testing team. She was part of it. We tested for a few seasons together. She is an excellent Magic player. Excellent, excellent, extremely, extremely adept Magic player. And she is playing a deck after my own heart. I love Golgari mid decks. I love any deck in standard that plays Deep Cavern Bat on 2 and then follows it up with a big threat on 3. And I think Lissa is a great big threat on 3 for that. Um, I love this deck. I think the Unholy Annex is a very sick, very powerful card. And I mean, the sideboard, it just has everything you could ever want. We've got Nissas, we've got Lilies, we've got Terra Sunder, we've got more Unholy Annexes and Frillbacks. It is just perfect. It's beautiful. I love this deck. I can't wait to see Maria play
I even like the one of Gix's command in the sideboard. You never know. And that card really does do it all. Very
it.
looking forward to watching this match. Her opponent is Noto, and she is running Rakdos Lizards. Now, this is another deck I haven't had a chance to see in action. However, the Iridescent Vine Lasher, I have seen that card. Big
Mhm.
fan. It kind of brings back those old landfall memories, and boy, does that landfall do serious damage here. So, when it comes to burn decks, I don't know if Rakdos Lizards is seen as more of a burn deck or a mid range deck, so to speak. What do you think here is going to be the key to victory against, again, the star studded lineup that is Maria with the Rakdos mid range deck?
Yeah, so I have played a lot of Rakdos Lizards. I qualified for an RC with Rakdos Lizards. I love this deck with all my heart. I think this is a good evolution of where the deck has come since from when I was playing it. I really like Urabrask's Forge just being in the main deck. I really like Valley Flamecaller. Uh, all of these very, very powerful cards. I think the Forges in the main deck are going to be very good, except for the fact that Maria is almost like pre-built to deal with them, given that she has, you know, Tranquil Frillbacks and her sideboard has more artifact removal. But the thing that's really hard for the Golgari deck in this spot, I think, is the huge amount of hand disruption
Mhm.
that Lizards is able to take advantage of with the Deep Cavern Bats, the Thoughtstalker Warlocks. And then we've got, 4 Duress in the sideboard. Uh, but we've got, 2 decks that are trying to pick apart each other's resources, one just a little bit more aggressive than the other. So, it's really just like the classic mid-range tale of can Maria's deck line up the right cards when she needs them, or will she get overrun by lizards?
Yeah, I was gonna say the only thing this deck seems to be missing, again, not in standard, don't worry. Thoughtseize is the card that certainly comes to mind when I
Oh,
think of
they would
like the
love a
bat.
Thoughtseize. I do like to call it Thoughtstalker Warlock Thoughtseize Lizard. So,
I like it.
you
And
know,
again, congrats on your qualification, by the way,
oh,
via
thank you,
this
thank you.
deck.
Yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
it's a sick deck. I'm excited to see Noto piloting it.
All right, well, let's head down to the action here. Two very, very powerful decks and two very, very powerful players sparring off. Here we go. It is Noto versus Maria. And again, we have both hands. And you know what? I mean, why not ship it? Both hands look pretty good. Maria just needs one more land. Would love to see that one more land. Noto's hand also not looking too shabby here. I'd like Noto's curve better.
Yeah, I do like Noto's curve. But
Mhm.
Maria has the advantage of getting to be the first person to play a bat,
All
although she
right.
is going to be staring down 2 bats.
I was going to say, I mean, what do you even do when you see a hand that has 2 bats, a cut down? I mean, it's gonna be a tough one, and to try to navigate this oh so early, especially the fact Maria did not draw that 3rd land yet, so it's something we're all gonna keep an eye on. Passes the turn to Noto, so
This
it
is
looks
why
like
Maria's the GOAT. This is why Maria is my queen. She's the best. She's so smart to just not play your bat onto there and put her in such a better position here to follow up with a bat the following turn. Incredible, extremely heads up, 1000 IQ Magic player.
it was very good, and it was good restraint too, right? And that's really important as a Magic player. No land drop, but Maria will be able to look at Notice and grab something, quote unquote, for reals, because again, things aren't going to survive long enough in this matchup, especially with the sheer number of removal. So Maria looking at the hand, Deep Cavern Bat. Any insight here, Niall? What would you take?
Geez, I would look at this and I would let out a deep sigh. This is so tricky. I mean, you can take the bat and then force basically the play of cut down your bat you. You can take the forge
Yeah.
and delay the forge for a turn, which love that. Very, very well played. But you're still staring down the face of Deep Cavern Bat plus Hired Claw, or Deep Cavern Bat plus Cut Down, or really anything. Even just playing Thoughtstalker Warlock just naked's pretty good because we know that all of Maria's cards are spells because we've seen them, and also she's not playing lands.
All right, Noto looking at the hand, and again, you want to talk about a deep sigh? I mean, yeah, Maria's short a land or two, but my goodness, this hand from Maria is also strong. And again, that's again the significance of and the thought process of, oh my gosh, this is going to be in for the long haul. There's not going to be any quick matches here. So again, Noto looking at this, Annex would have been my guess as well.
Yeah, yeah, I think you just cannot let Maria play what is effectively a Phyrexian arena.
Yeah, good call. So no land, but that is a disfigure, and disfigure, as shown earlier, was really powerful here. So, Nile, you're seeing this now. So many moves now without a land. Is there any opening to try to draw a card with the Dread Knight's adventure side to try to get another land? Are we to that point where that needs to be a move to be made, or can you be patient here if you're
No, I
Maria?
think you have to be patient, and I
Mhm,
think you're, like, so pincered by Noto right now because basically impossible to stop. So, Noto can swing out, right? And Maria can technically not take any damage, but to do so, she will have to give up her Deep Cavern Bat, which doesn't end up being relevant at all because we're just gonna cut it down, which
mm.
means we can play, Forge immediately and get that online and ticking up. And as of right now, Maria does not have an answer for the Forge.
Yeah, Niall, and you were talking earlier about the Forge being such a pivotal card in this matchup. Looks like we're going to see that in action here very soon.
This is very dangerous.
Mm.
This is very dangerous because I love it. I love it so much.
Going with the Warlock instead.
Yeah,
Wow.
so the Warlock was almost guaranteed once we, like, got to combat and the Forge hasn't been played, which put Maria in this interesting predicament of, the Annex is the card she needs and wants the most right now, but if she kills the bat, the Thoughtstalker Warlock can just make you exile the Annex. So it's weird because it's like the Annex is actually safer under the bat right now than it is in Maria's hand.
Yeah, someone in chat was talking about I'd take the knight there. And that's a really rough decision again. Maria again taking the card draw here at this point. Did get a fountain port, but again, not exactly what Maria wants to see. I see a lot of double swamp symbols in Maria's hand right now, and that is a
Mhm,
little worrisome.
mhm. Yeah, but I mean, the Archfiend is a big threat, and, one thing to note is Noto has not put a ton of damage on the board yet. You know,
Yeah.
4 damage is good, but it's not really that much to be turn, what, 6?
Yeah. Yeah, so cut down in hand, going to use the village, bring back the bat. Okay, all right, very interesting. And now, I mean, it's one of two cards, right? Because there's two archfiends in
Yeah,
hand here. So yeah, gonna probably take the archfiend since Alklotz, or sorry, I can never say this name right. Aklazatz
Aquazot. Mhm, mhm.
cannot be played right. Try saying that 3 times fast. Yeah, Aklazatz cannot be played yet. So now down the middle here for Noto. And again, I absolutely agree with you, Niall. There has not been enough damage to be played. I mean, the cut down's good and all. You get an extra 2 down the middle, but I do feel like Noto has to be thinking, I need to have done more damage by this point.
Yeah, oh,
Mm.
that's actually huge because now Aquazotz is just a creature we can cast, and this could be all that Maria needs to stabilize.
All right. So Forge is present. Just going down the middle with the Warlock. But again, Aquazotz does have lifelink. I mean, it's going to be a hard uphill battle. And especially when Maria can be playing yet again another Archfiend. Maria down to 7. But is it too late to establish this tough board? Or is Aquazotz going to get there as of this point for Maria?
Yeah, very interested to see what shakes out here. So we do still have the Archfiend, we have the Cottage, we have multiple Fountain Ports.
Yep. Llanowar wastes down another Fountain Port in hand. And a gecko in Noto's hand. Hmm.
Yeah, Flame Cash Gecko, very good. I mean, this Fireglass Mentor is just sort of a problem. And also this Forge just ticking up every single turn is soon to be a pretty big issue for Maria.
Yeah, Aclazotz might be the one that saves Maria overall, though. That lifelink is so critical at this point. If Noto doesn't find a way to deal with Aclazotz, it's gonna be tough for Noto to win right now, just because of how potent the board is for Maria. But that again, Gecko in hand and a Cavernous Souls,
Yeah.
probably not something Noto wanted to see.
Now, worth noting, the Forge is going to cost Noto 2 life a turn.
Mhm.
Ooh, Glissa. What
Ooh.
a card.
Is it Glissa what's needed right now, or do you just go with the cottage and go downtown? I mean, Noto's still at 16 right now, so it's
Well,
one of those. Hmm.
so Glissa keeps, threats on the ground at bay. Answers Urabrask's Forge extremely well, and provides a threat that Noto is going to have to be blocking every turn because the moment you don't, it's really game over. And already down to 6 life for Noto.
Yeah, and how the tables have turned ever since that Aclazotz came down, that was the flip point in the advantage bar, even back then.
Mhm.
And the hired clause there, but again, it might be too little too late with that life gain that Aclazotz has provided.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this Glissa is such a impenetrable force on the ground here. And also,
All right.
any creature that dies is a third of Noto's life right now.
Yeah, and trying to loot with the Gecko right now, and it's just oh, and that is producing another. Is Aclazotz just that good? Aclazotz is
Aclazotz is
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Yeah. So now we have the forge, but again, as Niall stated, there's going to be 2 damage done every single time with that forge, thanks to the Archfiend here. I think Noto, who almost had it, just drew 1 too many lands here, and Maria, as also Niall has stated, has shown just so much patience in the face of, "Oh my gosh, I'm not drawing my lands right now." So again, just excellent gameplay here from Maria here in game number 1.
I think she can just kill 3 creatures in blocks here, which just kills Noto.
Yeah, on the swing back for sure. Again, that first strike coming into play for Glissa. No real threats on board here to take out 12 life. And there it is, the good game given from Noto, and again, the Archfiend doing the Archfiend's job, and oh my goodness, what a game number 1. Again, what a comeback for Maria, and I don't think Maria was ever out of it. It was looking rough for a little while because of the land situation, which then Maria got too many lands, so you went from no lands to too many lands, and that's really frustrating for a Magic player, but again, she stayed calm, and again, it looks like she's gonna be winning game number 1 here, and just again, what an excellent display of patience, if anything.
Yeah, and I mean, just really putting on a clinic for how to play when you're down lands, how to play like from behind like that. I just think we saw such restraint and excellent gameplay from Maria. So very well played. Congrats on the game win there as we move into sideboarding.
And as we are going into sideboarding here, I'm interested to see what Maria does with the sideboard. So looks like there was a removal of one of the annexes. Makes sense, right? The opponent's deck will deal out some pretty heavy damage in Rakdos Lizards. Looks like Dreams of Steel and Oil Bats coming out.
Yeah,
All
and I
right.
mean, as get excited because the one of Gix's command that's coming in.
Yeah, and again, that is a card you wanna see. I mean, that and the Harvester of Misery as well. These are pretty much auxiliary board wipes, right? They're not
Yeah.
always going to be there, but they are auxiliary board wipes. Keeping all 4 Archfiend of the Dross, of course, keeping the Aclazotz, because again, that is what got it done in game number 1. And we are seeing the Tranquil Frill back as well, because again, you might need to get rid of those forges. They're kind of a menace.
Yeah, I mean, getting rid of the forges, even just gaining life,
Mhm.
and being a 3/3 blocker, these are all things that are really hard for lizards to deal with. And I think trimming the deep cavern bats is very sensible because the bats are something that are not hard for lizards to deal with. And you're often playing a 2 mana creature to temporarily exile their 1 mana spell. So I think very, very good sideboarding here.
Did you see the forges came out on Noto's side? At least 3 of them did.
I did see. I think that is very like next level sideboard thinking to know that Maria is going to bring in more ways to deal with them and just say, you know what, not dealing with that at all, not trying that plan at all. Liliana of the Veil, though, card that is very hard for Maria to handle.
All right, so the higher claw going down, and now this is a play that is going to be very reminiscent. Anybody remember Burning Tree Emissary? Well, we are about to get Burning Tree Emissary at home as we have the geckos do gecko things here. Are we going to see a discard here?
Yeah, I like calling this one Lizard Tree Emissary.
I like that. And you know what? The lizards are super cute. I
They're
mean,
very cute.
why not? All right, so we have a marsh down here for Maria. Great land situation so far. And now are we going to see that same, going second patience from Maria? Looks like Maria is going to be sitting back this turn.
Yeah, now the awkward thing for Noto here is no second black source to
Hmm.
cast this Liliana.
All right, and looking like the hired claw is going to be going, which is unfortunate for Noto because again, that is an early source of just getting some damage in, holding the go for the throat. Back to Maria's turn, another marsh, and again, I don't think Maria could have asked for too many, too much of a greater sequence here in terms of the lands. Much better land situation this time, hitting the land drops. Now it's looking at the Dread Knight or go for the throat. What do you think Maria does here? Does she try to control the board with go for the throat, establish a board with the Dread Knight, or use the adventure side and draw a card?
It's really tricky because obviously you always want to, draw cards and use every part of the Dread Knight that you can, but doing so costs you a life, and more than that, doesn't affect the board at all. So at minimum, drawing a card with the Dread Knight is 5 life for Maria right now, which is a ridiculous amount of life to be taking at the moment.
Oh,
Whereas staying like this, oh, that's brutal. Still not able to cast
so
these
what were you
lilies.
saying? Staying like this? I mean, you weren't wrong. I mean, oh my
Yeah.
goodness. So,
And
anyways, I'm
now
sorry. Go ahead.
so no, you're good. We can respond to what's happening, and we've pumped mana into this lizard, so now we can just go for the throat it, and instead of spending 5 life to draw a card, Maria spends 2 life and gets rid of a creature, and now gets to do a turn like this where she highly affects the board.
And then some. And this also protects the Archfiend and the Aclazats too. So again, Maria kind of taking advantage of the you really can't mass wipe my board with what you're trying to do, nor would you want to situation. The gecko does make it possible, I believe. Well, actually, yeah, one red
Only if we
Lily.
can deal damage.
Yeah, yeah, and that's
And I
probably
don't
not
think
an option.
Maria's gonna let that happen.
So it's not quite the burning tree emissary of our dreams, but it does have
Not
that
quite.
looting situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, very awkward in terms of.
Extremely awkward. Maria has built a very effective wall against what Noto is doing.
All right, down the middle, and Maria's like, I see what you're up to.
Yeah, I think really good play from Noto, like maybe Maria doesn't. Maybe Maria doesn't block. And if she doesn't, you get to ruin her life by, doing the Gecko Liliana line.
Ooh, so now Aclazats is on the table now, but do you do that? Do you use the adventure side of the Dread Knight instead to gain more resources? Nah, Maria's like, I got this. I have to go with Aclazats. To which Noto does have the go for the throat, but is Aclazats really ever truly gone?
No, not quite. Now, Noto can start to set stuff up where, maybe Aclazotz is the only creature Maria has. And then we can finally get in with our Lily and, keep the Aclazotz at bay just a little bit longer. But at some point, we also just have to deal 12 damage to Maria.
That seems very difficult given the current situation here, as Gecko is down the middle, probably going to ditch one of the Liliana the Veils here, and that's exactly what she does. And that cut down is not going to be doing anything. Certainly not getting rid of the Archfiend of the Dross that is likely to hit the field. But that is a deep cavern bat. Interesting draw here from Maria.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's exactly what she's going to do. She's like, yeah, I don't want any more variables. But keep in mind that cut down that is in Noto's hand cannot even be played right now.
Yeah, which it looks like Maria's looking at the lands, making sure there wasn't a way to respond to this, and
Yep, gets the cut down and looks like Dread Knight is going to hit the field once more. And Noto not having a lot of options. I mean, the bat's going to be good for nabbing the Archfiend, but again, just a very, very awkward draw sequence and land situation by Noto.
Yeah, very, very awkward indeed. Playing a Lily into an Aquazotz does not feel amazing.
And that is another Dread Knight. So again, we were talking about how much Nile does like Golgari midrange, and really a lot of people in standard do. And it feels like it takes so much to stop this engine. There's so much draw, there's so much creature generation here. There's just so many different things that this deck can do. And we're seeing how resilient it is.
Yeah, I mean, you're so strong in the resource game, and this is really a display of strength from Maria, that she is at a point where she is drawing with the Dread Knights.
Yeah, down the middle with the Dread Knight for 3. Finally getting some chip damage in on Noto. And again, the advantage is still very much on Maria. I mean, look at this board state. Look at all the resources available in this matchup. Maria has all of the cards that are capable of coming back. Oh, yeah. Did you forget that Iridescent Vine Lasher is in this deck? I certainly forgot about it.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost a way that we can come back, right? Like, we can start. I mean, we're just 5 land drops away
Oh, yeah.
if Maria never gains life again and doesn't draw cards like Disfigure.
Yeah, Disfigure for the Bat, Archfiend to Dross. I mean, that seems pretty good. Seems pretty good.
Yeah,
But
seems pretty good indeed.
yeah, and Maria's just like, "Yeah, I don't have to think twice about that. Give me my Archfiend back." Archfiend will hit the field once more, and again, is if that wasn't enough, all of Maria's board is very possible and easy to swing with at this point, as she uses the map generated, and wow, just the sheer force here of what's going on here. I don't see too many things that Noto can draw here, Nile, that would make her come back. I mean, this is such a difficult situation.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is with a deck like Lizards, you can't really afford to run things that answer board states like this. So, she's just got it, She's just able to fully commit to the board and run away with the game. So, extremely well played by both players. Huge congrats to Maria for taking that one down and winning winning the match there. That was incredible.
Yeah, I think with that kind of thing, if you're Rakdos Lizards going into Golgari midrange, you have to be able to win the game almost immediately. You get past turn 4, turn 5. That is just going to be ridiculously hard to come back against. Mind you, y'all, make sure, especially entering into new standard, that you have whatever kind of board wipe that your colors offer, because you need some way to get that value back on your opponent. And again, I don't even know if that's going to be possible with Golgari midrange. Gonna have to read through my foundation spoiler a little bit more. But seriously, I want to take a moment to point out that patience again that Maria
Mhm.
showed. Especially, it didn't even dawn on me to hold back with the disfigure, and just the again with the land situation, Maria did not panic and just got in there. That game 1 was difficult, came back with flying colors. My goodness, GG.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, extremely well played. And I think in game 1, had we seen Maria open with Deep Cavern Bat on 2, she maybe would have lost that game. She certainly would have been in a much, much, much worse position from the jump. So extremely well played, very high level thinking from both players. Congrats again to Maria.
All right. Well, these games of the VML playoffs are intense. And I want to remind you all, this is not an easy league. I just want to
No.
point that out. Every game, every week, every opponent is intense. There's nothing to be taken for granted here in the VML. So, again, just the deepest good games to everyone playing, everyone who made it to the top 32, which is a big achievement unto its own in the VML. Let's take a look at the next game and see what our players have in store. We have Noah here and he has chosen Gruul Prowess, which again, Niall, you were talking about this at the beginning of the cast, as the Prowess decks in general have been showing promise. They've been very powerful every step of the way in standard. Not just standard, I believe you said Pioneer as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, we're seeing prowess lists and pioneer as well that I mean do extremely well in that format too.
Yeah, so here, a lot of familiar faces here, especially from Junction. We have the Slick Shots show off, of course, Innkeeper's Talent from Bloomborough. Oh my gosh, I cannot say enough good things about the card. And of course, Monstrous Rage. We've seen it in Prowess, we've seen it in Red Deck Wins, we've seen it in the Catapult decks where you just attach all of it to a creature and then send it on over to the opponent. There's a lot of things that these Prowess decks can do. And is that a Forge I'm spotting in this deck as well, Niall?
Yeah, we've got a couple main deck forages and two in the side as well, which is almost like a grindier, more mid-range card than I think we really normally see in decks like this. But I think especially in the VML, we often see a lot of decks that are catered to a specific person. And so if you know that your opponent has been playing mid-range decks all season long, maybe you put a couple forges in your main deck to hedge your bet against them continuing to do that.
Yeah, I love that suggestion, especially for folks, wanting to sign up for any kind of tournament qualifier, even VML. These are the kind of moves that need to be made, especially in a league where you have rotating decks most weeks. All
Mhm.
right, their opponent. We have Nigekki, and she is on Dimir midrange. So again, a lot of midrange here going on. We had the Golgari midrange. Now we have the Dimir midrange. And again, we cannot get rid of those bats. I'm sorry, y'all. Those are going to be a fact of life for a while. We have the deep cavern bats, Preacher of the Schism, great butt, great creature in general. Enduring Curiosity enters the fold. So Niall, this is the first we've seen of the Curiosity. How powerful of a presence will Curiosity have in standard going forward?
I think I think a lot of the enduring creatures from Duskmourn, the vitality that we saw in the Otters deck, the curiosity that we're seeing in this one, I think they're for the most part very strong. These sticky threats that generate a lot of value and advantage for you, I think are extremely powerful in something like standard. Um, the curiosity in particular, extremely strong in this deck that has 12 different threats that are 2 or 1 mana, which have flying. One of them has flash. This deck is very good at getting small bits of damage across and very good at rewarding getting small bits of damage across. So really strong card. Really excited to see it played in the Dimir lists.
All right, one more thing before we start the battle here. I do notice we do have two Shieldreds in the sideboard, and I'm curious as to see if that is going to play a factor. That card is always something we all have our eyes on at all times in standard.
Yeah, I
All
mean,
right. So
incredible card, but might be too slow against the prowess decks. But
mm,
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Nigekki wants to do here.
absolutely. Let's head on down to the battlefield. And again, and just two amazing decks, two amazing players. Here we go. And from the prowess deck, that's the only perspective we're going to get here. So you're going to get some suspense from the opponent's hand. Goes into a mulligan. A snakeskin veil, though, not a bad one to get early. We're seeing quite a bit of creature presence. You want to see that from this deck. Not a ton of lands. Again, totally acceptable here. This looks like a pretty good starting hand from Noah.
Yeah, I think this is very good, close to ideal. I mean, we would want to see something like Monstrous Rage for sure, but being able to these Heartfire heroes are just it cannot be overstated how strong they are and how big of threats they are.
And every single time up, that's a fairy mastermind flashing out of the field from Nigekki. Every single time you see one green up in its prowess, you have to assume it's Snakeskin Veil, right? Like, you have to. It's just the way things go against these decks.
You do, and it's extremely frustrating to play against because whether they have it or not, like, you have to be paying so much respect to so many things, and it can be really tricky. Love to see the new Kaido coming
Ooh.
out, though.
Wow, yes, that is new Kaido coming in, slamming the board, and again, just does so many things. And again, ninjutsu. It's a thing again. You thought it was done after Kamigawa? No, it is totally back. And Kaido seems to be a really good call here early in game number 1 for Nigekki. We cannot see her hand, but I really like the call by her.
Yeah, and using the Snakeskin Veil just to put counters on the Heartfire hero.
Well, Noah comes in with the lightning strike for Kaido, but again, Kaido did a pretty decent job here. Flashed in, did some damage, but now again, dealing with 2 Heartfire heroes this early seems very overwhelming if you are in Nigekki's position.
Yeah, and let me take a look at Nigekki's list again real quick. I don't think we have the Anoint with Afflictions, which are
That's good, very good.
very good for dealing with these, Heartfire heroes, but other than that, dealing with they're such a pain to deal with because they get so big so fast, and even if you kill them, you're still taking damage. Huge problem.
Yeah, so Paris Sirens here on the field for Nagaki. And again, you were talking about flyers earlier. Now we did not see the curiosity. I half was expecting it. But now we're seeing Everheart challengers are not too shabby here, as are the Monastery Swift Spears. Always have to assume, okay, there it is, there's Urtai. Nagaki probably wishing that she had that a turn sooner, but very good call here with the Urtai. Swift Spear still going to hit the board more than likely because what else is there to do after this? Going to swing first, though, from Noah for 2 down the board. Let's see. Probably just going to absorb the 2. Yep. Down to 14 for Nagaki. And the Swift Spear does not enter the battlefield. Interesting.
Yeah, wondering if this is any percentage trying to bluff the opponent or just purely not wanting to play a Swift Spear when you have no follow up with it. Because you're not going to be able to swing in with it. You're you have no way to protect it or pump it.
Sure, that makes sense. And it's not like there's not too much to do with the mana right now as is. And was that a lot of lands I just saw go into Noah's yard?
I think a couple lands, a couple spells.
And a very quick turn of events here. You don't expect to see the Dimir deck hustling the Prowess deck, but here we are. And
Y-
there's the Monstrous Rage. So again, everything can be played here, but let's see. 3 on the Forge. Is it too little too late, or is this just enough? Again, where's the calculator in chat? I saw y'all in there.
The problem is really the flyers, right? Because we're on a 2 turn clock best case scenario, and we just don't have anything that is blocking or killing those flyers at the moment.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if this is enough. Probably not. Probably not. 14 life is still quite a bit. So just down the middle, holding on to the Monstrous Rage. Forge token goes away, and we are back to Nagaki's turn. Does Nagaki have 2 more damage and or a way to get rid of both of these creatures?
Yeah, it's very tricky because you can't really. Yeah, I really like this attack from Nigekki because she
Mhm.
can't really like swing out again because then she is certainly dead on the crackback. But all she needs are the flyers, and she even has the fairy mastermind in hand as a backup to the
Ooh.
flyers.
Well, This is gonna be it. Oh, and that is a snakeskin veil. Could Noah do this turn? The fairy mastermind can still be blinked in. There's also the reef as well. Is this going to be enough?
I
And
think
it has
Noah
to
could
be.
certainly get there. So it's like we can't do the reef and the fairy mastermind.
Mhm.
So we've got a maximum of 2 blockers on the ground, and monstrous rage represents a ton of damage, just an absurd amount of damage. Snakeskin Veil also represents a lot of damage. Also worth noting that the Ember Heart Challenger means that really anything is on the table.
All right, opts for the mastermind instead. So you wonder if Nigekki has something else up her sleeve. Very interesting
I
move here.
think in Nigekki's position, nothing on your board matters except for your Spyglass Siren that has 2 power.
All right, here we go. It's down to that last card in Nigekki's hand, in theory.
I think this might be enough.
Think so too. And that is 3
Oh,
steps ahead for the counter, but the prowess is still there. And also the 1/1 counter is still on the hero. So let's see.
yeah, I think we're gonna be, like, 2 damage short of being able to do it this turn. I think
Mm,
the only shot is Snakeskin Veiling this Emberheart Challenger and just ripping something amazing off the top, and Urabrass Forge is not what we are looking for.
what a close game, though. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, very close game. Extremely well played by both players. Nigekki did everything she needed to do correctly to secure a line to lethal and keep it protected. And Noah did everything they could possibly do to try and find an out towards it. So very well played, and congrats to Nigekki taking the first game.
It's a very cool line indeed that was used there. So now going into the sideboard, again, if you're on the play and you're in Noah's position, you definitely want to go all in on the attack. Don't really need to prepare for the sideboard. Might be a little bit different if Noah can take game number 2, and then we're going to see something very different. But this is, I think game 2 is going to be very, very, very difficult for Nigekki given the decks. But her side deck did look very solid. And Dimir has a ton of tools at work. So it's going to be a matter of paying attention to the first 4 turns or so and saying if it's going to be enough. It's the same deal as the Rakdos deck versus the Golgari deck. You have to be able to break through very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Aclazotz, we've got Gex's commands. Even malicious eclipse could possibly come in here.
Witch Stalker Frenzy. So whenever you're thinking about something doing 5 damage, you can't help but wonder, is Noah afraid of Shieldred?
Yeah, that's very possible, and it's, into ooh, this is a
Oh,
terrible mulligan.
yeah, that's rough. That's rough. There's no lands. And now it's a decent hand, but going down to 5 on the play is really tricky, right?
Yeah, it's very tricky. It's certainly a hard choice to make here.
And again, you have to assume your opponent in Dimir colors. Again, this is an open deck list also here at the VML. You have to assume your opponent's going to have a ton of answers just given the nature of things.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, so Noah playing the Swift Sphere down the board, and that is duress.
Ooh.
That is duress from Nigekki. Yeah, this is difficult. Oh my goodness. That is
Yep.
just not a lot of damage coming in when you need an absolute amount of damage. And this is a way in which you don't think, Nile, that duress would be powerful against a deck like Prowess, but look at the work that it's done at this point.
Yeah, and Noah really flooding out in a time that they need to be drawing some impactful spells. Yeah, really starting on the back foot.
Yeah, and like that, Noah is out of creatures right now.
Yeah. really, like, the most ideal draw is probably something like a Emberheart Challenger. So we could play it, we can target it with the village. Um, I guess also the Heartfire Hero would be really good for this. Snakeskin Veil, not really what we want. We do still have the creature land.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I don't want to say I called it, but I mean, honestly, I could see someone not expecting Shieldred because, again, as you were talking about before, Nile, it is not a very fast card. But if you can get that card and keep it in this prowess matchup, it is lethal, quite literally lethal.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly spells doom for Noah, especially without a way to deal with it. But a Witchstalker Frenzy at any point will just handle this Shieldred.
Haven't seen too much from the curiosities. May have inside it out again. We didn't have Nigekki's sideboard process, but I'm
Mm.
surprised we haven't seen it. Oh, and that is a bat on the top, which does go into the yard on that.
Yeah, also puts Shieldred outside of Witchstalker Frenzy range.
Hmm. All right. Snakeskin Veil for the Swift Spear, but this is a oh, and that is another land.
It's not even a land that comes in untapped, so we can't activate our creature land off of it.
Mm.
This is just not what Noah needed.
But the Dimir mid-range deck is, I mean, again, we're acknowledging Noah has drawn lands and such. It is surprisingly resilient against the juggernaut that prowess is, right? Like, my goodness, it has been just going down the middle so much more than I expected it to.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that's really strong about the Dimir deck and decks like this is they have the clock plus disruption, where they're able to secure threats and also interact with your board. And we've seen that very well on display from Nigekki here as she closes this out in a quick 2-0. Congratulations, Nigekki, for taking that one down.
Yeah, she advances to the top 32 as well. And again, that Dimir deck did a lot of the stuff that the Golgari deck could, right? It didn't quite have the draw power that the Golgari deck did, but it had the same resilience again. And you can't help but wonder, aggro decks have been having a really difficult time during this. I'm not sure if it's just the VML and that's what people are preparing for, but the aggro decks aren't being quite as speedy as I anticipated them. So, what do you think that says about the status of the deck selection here in the VML?
Yeah, I mean, I think with decks like Prowess, with decks like Lizards, they're very powerful, but they very quickly fall apart. So I think when you're looking at one of them lose, it seems like, oh, well, how did they ever even have a chance? But when you're watching one win, it feels like, oh, the opponent just didn't get to play the game, right? Like,
Yeah.
win or lose, it's probably going to happen pretty quickly. And, you know, some of that just comes down to how your draws shape up. Some of that comes down to how well can your opponent respond to what you're trying to do. And I think we've seen a lot of variety there today.
Yeah, and that is the state of standard as well. Like there's a lot of variety going on and it's only going to get bigger with foundations and what, 6 sets coming out next
Mhm,
year in
mhm.
addition to how enormous it will be with foundations. So, yeah, GG's again to Nigekki and she will be advancing to the top 32? No, 16.
16,
16.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, where is time going? All right. Speaking of time, we have one more match for you here tonight. And again, thank you to everyone for joining us here. It has been fantastic to be here for
Absolutely.
y'all. Let's see what the final match will be for tonight. And we have a World Waker too with Temur. Oh, the Otters are back. The Otters are back? The Otters are back. Okay, the Otters have been back here. This looks like a very standard fare Otters deck again. I don't see too much that stands out about this that we haven't seen about Temur Otters. Feel free to correct me, Niall.
No, I think this is basically the same, if not exactly the same. It looks like there is a difference of World Waker having a pyroclasm over a paw patch formation. Part of that might be I know that Rebecca registered lizards every single week of her VML season, which she also went 7-0. So probably a
Wow.
good bet that she was going to register them again and maybe bring in Pyroclasm for that. But other than that, yeah, it is essentially the exact same list we saw earlier.
And again, I wanna note too, just again, big congratulations to World Waker as well. They have done very exemplary this season, and again, Temur Otters, very difficult deck to pilot, so I
Mhm.
cannot wait to see more of that. Their opponent, we have barelyRebecca 7-0, unless the records were somehow reversed. I
No,
have to take a
no,
look at
that's
my
right.
record.
Rebecca went 7-0
All
with
right,
Otters.
Rebecca. Well, congratulations, first of all. I've only been able to do that once myself. It is very difficult, especially again, we talk about the tough competition here in the VML. Congratulations again to Rebecca on the 7-0 regular season. I bet she would like to add a top 16 to the season with Rakdos Lizard. So again, we don't have to see otters on otters now. We have otters on
Yeah.
lizards, very Bloomburrow-y. And what kind of things would you like to say about this matchup, Niall? What can we look out for here?
Well, right at the top, I want to say, like you said, it is so hard to 7-0 a VML season, but I think it's extra impressive to do so registering literally the exact same deck every single week because your
What?
opponents can see that and your opponents know that, like, oh, she's registered it one time, two time, three, four, five, six, 7 times. And they can do anything they want to try to tech against you. They can bring in any card in their matchup against you, knowing that you're just gonna jam lizards again. And so to be able to just do that shows immense skill in piloting a deck. Now, as far as this particular matchup goes, I think it's probably pretty tricky for the lizards. I think from what we saw with the otters earlier, they are very good at quickly establishing an overwhelming board. And, when we saw the otter mirror, both decks were able to interact with it in a way that mattered, given that they both had 4 copies of Torch the Tower and could exile the vitalities. But the lizards deck is not as equipped to deal with it. So, a lot of the angles that the otter deck is fighting on, the lizard deck isn't really built to fight. So, I think it'll be tough, but also lizards is very good at just having explosive, aggressive games. So, really anything could happen.
I just realized this. I looked up Rebecca's profile and yeah, lizards, lizard. You can't help but wonder if they're like, she's not going to register lizards again,
Yeah,
right?
this is where she's
Right?
gonna psych me out. I'm not gonna attack against lizards because this is gonna be the first week that she pulls a fat. You can't trick me. No, she will. She will just register
Oh,
lizards every week.
I love this. And I'm glad you said something too, because that is wild to see this.
It's
All
extremely
right.
impressive.
All right, who will be the champion of Bloomburrow? Will it be lizards or otters? We'll see who remains or will become supreme. Here we go. Game number one, our final game of the evening here at the VML. And we get to see both hands. Yo, let's go. We have Up the Beanstalk here. Always want to see that on the opening. It's pretty good. And then you see not such an aggressive hand to start out with, considering what lizards can do from Rebecca's hand. So thoughts on these hands now?
Yeah, it's tricky. I would guess that this hand is too slow. I think it looks like Rebecca agreed. I think this one looks quite a bit better. Gev is such a pivotal card to the deck. As far as World Waker's hand goes, I mean, I think this seems pretty sweet. I mean, you have 2 lands, but effectively you have 4 if you need them.
Ooh, does the mulligan there. Interesting.
Yeah, sends it back and ends up on a honestly much better hand to deal
Mhm.
with what Rebecca is bringing. We have cards we can play on curve. We can deal with threats immediately. We can put up creatures of our own. We've got the vitality, even though we don't quite have the mana to get it out. Um, yeah, really, really stellar hand here.
All right. So both take a mulligan, and understandably so, and have probably gotten marginally better hands as a result. You'll love to see these mulligan decisions.
Yeah, absolutely. And even without a turn 1 play, um, everything Rebecca's gonna be playing from turn 2 on is just gonna be so powerful.
You know, it's funny. You expect to see like the cut down esque thing going on from Rakdos, and you see the single swamp, and it's really World Waker that has the trick here, which is probably going to be used on the bat. Just a thought, and yeah, World
Yeah.
Waker says, yeah, I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I think very, very well played from Rebecca here, leaning on the bat first over Gev,
Mm.
especially when your opponent is representing 1 red mana like that. But
Ooh.
we would certainly rather have the bat go than Gev go.
All right, so this is tough. There's a lot of good cards I'm seeing here. We have a room, we have a class, we have a sorcery against an aggro deck, and there's only, again, World Waker doesn't know this, but only one creature right now in Rebecca's hand. So this is kind of a tricky one, yeah?
Yeah, think I would lean towards the room, but I think Pyroclasm is, I mean, a very, very strong pick here.
All right, back over to Rebecca's turn, which looking like it's going to be Gev. Yeah, it's Gev. All right, so 3-2, looking like we might see a little bit of Pyroclasm. There's also the furnace as well. But
Oh, we
what
already
is
had a copy of the room in our hand. I missed
Oh,
that,
we
yeah.
already had a copy. My
Yeah.
bad, my bad. All right.
Obviously, we'd take Pyroclasm over second furnace.
Yeah, indeed. So furnace here for Gav, and it's only a ward or two life. Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, it's not too bad. We still don't have the mana for the vitality.
And again, if you're Rebecca, you do not want to be seeing any more lands. This is a lizards deck. You definitely want to keep lands to a minimum. It's cool that she has the ability to have haste on a creature, but at the same time here, I mean, World Waker gets any kind of vitality engine online. We see 2 songs now in World Waker's
Yeah.
hand, and all that needs to be done now is just the vitality songs go. I mean, that's what otters do, right? You don't launch otters at people, you launch rats at people.
Right. Now we do have the village for Rebecca, which can retrieve a bat or a lizard from the graveyard.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
we can
yeah.
get Gev back. Yeah.
All right, forgot about the village. Good call. So now Gav is back. We also have the Thoughtstalker Warlock in hand. Adorable. And looks like Rebecca is going to be opting to maybe do Gev plus removal.
Yeah, I mean, so playing Gev is just a little bit awkward
Mm,
because we know about the pyroclasm.
yeah.
And so I mean you're forcing World Waker into a position of, hey, if you want to cast pyroclasm, you're gonna have to kill your creature as well.
Oh, and Rebecca decided, yeah, I don't want to see the flood collar. Go for the throat on the poor cute little otter. And that is a second vitality without a way to play it, Nile.
Yeah, that is definitely the best thing that Rebecca has going going on right now. But definitely, uh, more or less a forced play to deal with the flood collar there.
And there's the pyroclasm and another go for the throat in Rebecca's hand. And now Thoughtstalker Warlock, I mean, is good, but it's not good as it could be.
Yeah, very, very awkward here. I think you're probably still priced into playing it
Yeah.
just to get something on the board.
It's funny, if it did what it was supposed to do, you'd only have 2 choices anyways, but now the choice is
Yeah.
left with World Waker. All right, so we're seeing not what I was expecting. Song of Totem Temps here.
You
Not
know,
the vitalities. Yeah, go ahead now.
well, so we drew the Sanctum, which comes in tapped, so we still can't play our vitalities. So I think playing the song is setting us up for the next turn, so that way, effectively, our vitalities cost 1 mana because we already have 2 creatures on the board. So we can like play vitality into second vitality.
All right, bushwhack off the top for World Waker as we finally, and I mean finally, get to see the vitality. Feels like forever, but how long will it last? Answer's kind of, but not really.
Yeah, so we are going to get the second vitality out. And I mean, Rebecca has an anoint, which is a very good way to deal with the vitality, but there being 2 vitalities to deal with makes this very awkward.
Mhm. All right, anoint as stated, and then the enduring, which will likely be go for the throat. But again, that vitality does stay on the field, which again, it's just one of those things that you have to deal with when it comes to the Duskmorn vitality cycle. I mean,
Yeah.
it's rough.
Yeah, because go for the throat on this vitality just does not do very much right now.
Yeah, it's also the strongest creature on the board. Okay, well, now tied for the strongest creature on the board. I see what you did there, Rebecca. Down the middle for 3, 13 for World Waker as a fabled passage. This doesn't really seem like the thing that World Waker wants right now. How about the other half of that room, though?
Yeah, the other half of that room is extremely relevant at the moment. It is just
Mhm.
like the get you out of jail free card for whenever you are low on resources. So I think it is very likely that we are going to see a room activation soon from World Waker.
All right, so have to expect this response to be a go for the throat. So, is this technically a 2 for 1 if this enchantment sticks and is tapped for mana?
It's like a 1.5 for 1. Like, it's definitely like the best situation Rebecca's gonna get to go for the throat,
Mm.
the vitality, but it still doesn't feel great.
All right, well, things that do feel great, the sauna and
Yeah,
another land, though, not something World Waker wanted to see.
yeah, lands and more go for the throats are just not what Rebecca's looking for at the moment. And soon, World Waker is just gonna be so ahead on resources
Yeah,
that
down the middle for an additional 2. No go for the throat here, understandably so. But the sauna again, more drawing, and that is another vitality, which again, Niall, you were saying the resources will build up very quickly for World Waker.
yeah, absolutely. As Rebecca is just flooding out in the most miserable way here.
All right. So again, hanging on to that go for the throat. I mean, not much can really be done on Rebecca's side right now. You wait for a big creature, probably this vitality, especially given the situation. Hatchbay's not, if you're gonna draw land, that one's not terrible for
Yeah,
World
it does
Waker.
something.
Oh, bitter reunion on the
Yeah,
top.
not a bad card for sure.
Nope.
Gonna let us see some more cards, potentially give us a big explosive churn. The good thing for Rebecca here is the second vitality as an enchantment just does not really do anything. So, this enduring vitality, pretty good go for the throat target. It is basically the same as exiling it at this point.
Yeah. Down the middle for 2. Another vitality hitting the field. I think we're finally going to see what happens with this go for the throat. But again, another draw here, and it's going to be a draw into the reunion.
Yeah, so seems likely to me that Rebecca go for the throats this vitality, but also it is not really in the way at the moment. I mean, now it is because we've drawn Hired Claw and we can give it haste.
Yeah. I like how you said not at the moment though, because I was in total agreement here. Hired Claw off the top, not terrible in this situation, which is odd to say given how many lands are on the field right now, but still relevant. Go for the throat here. Most likely going to hit the vitality to go down the middle, but let's see what Rebecca does.
Yeah, getting a little bit punished for not casting the go for the throat during World Waker's turn, because then we would have the mana to play Hired Claw, give it haste, and then also pump it.
Oh, okay. Going for the additional damage here. And again, Claw doing the additional damage here. I like this play from Rebecca.
Yeah, yeah, this is definitely very good.
Now the question is, can World Waker hang on for another turn or two? Or is Rebecca going to get by here? Oh, that is a find for World Waker.
Yeah, that is a very huge get.
So we're definitely going to see some analyze the pollen. Let's see what happens with the investigate. What do you grab here? Looks like the flood collar, yeah, and the trainer. Oh, this is a lot of value in terms of like what's going to be pulled out from the yard, right? Like, let's see what is going to be grabbed in terms of cards though.
Yeah, so
Okay, I thought so. Flood collar. That's what I was thinking of. I just got distracted by everything in the graveyard. um, so we're gonna be seeing probably what are you playing first here, World Waker? I'm seeing all this manual tapping. Not a bad idea considering the auto tapper. Um, all
yeah,
right,
this
there's flood
is
collar.
certainly precarious.
I mean, anyone who's ever dealt with the auto tapper understands that this is important.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna finally see that go for the throat hit on the flood collar. Bitter Reunion is going to draw. And again, Rebecca is at 9 still. Not a bad draw, but is it enough? Is it
I
enough?
mean, this
Yeah,
this clears Rebecca's board,
yeah,
right?
yeah. So we're gonna have the fight.
Yeah, we fight here, and then um
Furnace.
we have the furnace to deal with the other one.
And you're absolutely right here, Niall, that the door made the difference here, especially the sauna part of the door,
Mhm.
because all those extra draws very much made a big difference here.
Oh yeah, mattered a ton.
So now the ball's kind of back in Rebecca's court. What can Rebecca draw? She can give one thing haste with the land, and World Waker is at 3. This
Rebecca
is
has precisely one out, and it is draw another Thoughtstalker Warlock,
yeah.
play it, give it haste, win the game. That is not the out that we needed.
Nope. That would have been ridiculous to see though.
That would have been very cool. That would have been very cool.
But yeah, there's not too many options for Rebecca now.
Yeah, just too much value generated off that room.
Did not clear the final creature though. Any thoughts on that, Niall?
For World Waker not getting rid of the hired claw,
Yeah.
I think it's gotta be incorrect. Because I guess also a line we didn't consider
Mhm.
was second higher claw was also lethal.
Yeah.
Um, so I think you just expose yourself to more lines of lethality. Maybe you're hoping that you draw an instant that matters off of your room, but I think just clearing the board is probably the safest play.
Can I just say, World Waker, I love the name of your deck.
Oddies.
Oddies.
That's good.
So
That's good.
cute. I love it. I love everything that Bloomborough has brought to the game. We do see the dissection tools come in. I don't think we saw that in the last game with Temur Otters. I mean, it was present, but we never saw it get put in.
Yeah, I don't think it got brought in. Um, yeah, I mean, lifelink is just such a relevant keyword.
All the time.
I'll tell you, as someone who's played a lot of the Lizards deck, when my opponents gain life, I cry.
Oh, yeah. Any kind of burn deck, anything that involves on dealing massive amounts of damage early.
Right.
That's why I like the Shield Rid. Yeah, it was 4 mana, but that life gain is exceptionally relevant if you can't get rid of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Someone in chat, I cry whenever my opponent does anything. Yeah, so now we see the perspective. Lizards eat otters.
Lizards eat
I
otters.
feel sad about that name.
No, I love it. That's good.
I like oddies better in
Mm,
terms of names.
Lizards eat otters. That's so good.
All right, so we're seeing the sideboard. Yeah, we're likely not gonna see Lily of the Veil. Are we going second? Maybe Rel disapproves. What is going on
I think
here?
if I am Rebecca, I would be very interested in these obliterating bolts. Just as exile removal for the vitalities.
Mhm,
I am possibly interested in the duresses.
mhm.
Um,
I am not interested in that first hand Rebecca had, or
ooh,
now this is tricky, right? Because of the 2 hired clause here. Oh,
yeah, I think it's tricky, but
you
ugh,
gotta keep that, right? Like, you gotta, especially with the, hired claw and the flame collar. Ah,
yeah, I mean, it's like really, really good if you draw two more lands on curve that are both untapped.
mhm. That's asking, when you put it that way, Niall, that is asking for a lot. I agree.
Yeah, and something a very disciplined mulligan into
Yeah.
like a honestly pretty nice hand. Um, something that I was talking with Pygonti while we were doing modern stuff with Blue Black Frog, as he mentioned that when you keep a one lander, you are playing against not only your opponent but also your own deck.
Mhm.
And so I think putting yourself into a position where you are not having to fight against your own draw step is ideal.
That's really good advice. Well put. Well put.
Yeah.
That's something that I will certainly take forward after this. Roaring Furnace on top again, and I want to say that that was the MVP of the first match. Niall, was that the furnace and the sauna, of
Yeah, and I think, obviously hindsight is 2020. I think
course.
I would have rather have kept a what's that lizard's name? The Vine Lasher over
Yeah.
one of the Go for the Throats.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just because it hasn't felt like the Go for the Throats have been super impactful, and knowing that we had untapped land plus tap land would have let us go Hired Claw on one and then turn to Vine Lasher into our tap land. But drawing the third Go for the Throat really makes that brutal.
So I noticed here, and oh my gosh, this variety of stuff to be done here.
Yeah.
This is tough. Now, I give Worldwaker a lot of credit. I don't know if I would have had the discipline to take the Storm Chaser. I get why you do it, but those section tools were looking very, very tempting.
Yeah, it's just, you're not going to be able to play it for a minute.
Mhm.
I think just getting out the talent is definitely the disciplined play there.
Yeah, we've kinda had that theme all night about talking about discipline plays, and it's very important to be able to do it. I mean, I know that seems like a "does" statement, but there are just so many times where there's the play you want to make and then the play you should make, and it doesn't always intersect. Go for the throat here, and looks like, will this be torched? It's looking like it. Yes.
Yeah, you gotta torch this. Also, Rebecca was faced with an actually very tough decision there, where do you play your land and keep up your red black land for after the Fireglass Mentor connects and you're looking at cards, or do you tap out entirely So that way, if you hit a land, that is also an option of a thing you can play. And I don't know. I think it's honestly a really tough call.
All right, Flood Collar flashing its way in. Love the art, by the way. Why not play the Storm Chaser? Is it because of a? Oh, because you can play stuff with Flash. Okay, never
Yes.
mind. I was gonna be like, wait a second. No, that is correct. All right, but still getting through the 1/1 Otter here, pretty important. And are we going to see a similar play here on this turn with the Flood Collar and the Otter? Or are you just gonna play everything at once and swing in for the two or three, rather?
Yeah, I think you definitely just get in for the 3 damage.
Yep. There you go. Loving these otters. Loving this. Looks like a fun deck to play.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, and I mean, Rebecca can play out a Mentor and get rid of this Flood Caller, but, we're still just, being hit by this room, these otters, the level up of the talents, all of these angles that the deck is attacking on that lizards just can't respond to.
Yeah, a lot of depth to this deck. And again, I feel like the lizards are at their strongest when they can just get the landfall
Mhm.
lizards out very quickly, the ones that ping.
Yes.
So, unfortunately for Rebecca, that engine did not get off that early. Again, as you were talking about, there's a something to be said about fighting your own deck, and I feel like Rebecca has been fighting her deck this entire duel.
Yeah, and it looks like we are maybe activating the village, possibly activating the restless vents. Do the vents have menace?
Yes,
Okay,
the
so
vents
that's
do have
probably
men.
why we didn't attack with both otters.
Mhm. But does that do anything for Rebecca?
Yeah, I mean, it's really unfortunate because we just cannot attack into this 4/4 lifelink.
All right, getting the claw back from the yard, and again, village for the claw, very good play.
Mhm,
Vents will come into play tapped, but again, just Rebecca not having any resources because that's what lizards do. They want to just dump everything on the board, but with those mulligans, it was hard to have those resources to put on the board in the first place.
mhm,
So vitality, as if World Waker needed any other tools, very strong draw, and shipping the board. It looks like.
mhm. Yeah, and, if needed, we can bounce Rebecca's board. We can play Vitality and even equip the dissection tools to it if we really want to.
And Sulphur Springs is the draw for Rebecca. And again, just one too many lanes, especially after a mulligan. That is a hard way to play Magic.
Yeah, that is really tough, especially just against the ridiculous amount of value that the Temur Otters deck can generate.
Again, Hired Claw coming down the board. And looks like we're just going to see a basic block by Vitality.
Yeah, this is definitely just a play to trigger the Fireglass Mentor, hope to see something good. I mean, another Hired Claw is not bad.
And Hired Claw will perhaps get a 1/1. Yep.
Yeah,
Becomes
that's
a
not bad.
2/3. Yeah. And this town is not big enough or ain't big enough, so to speak. Going
Mhm.
to return the claw back to the hand, getting the oh my goodness gracious, the advantage that this room provides between the furnace and the sauna is
Yeah, and
ridiculous.
and this is just gonna be game.
Yeah, and that's
Wow.
going to be it. World Waker advances into the top 16. barelyRebecca again. I want to give a big congratulations on the 7-0 and not only getting a 7-0 but doing it with lizards. Just
Yeah,
lizards all the
every
way.
week, over and over,
Yeah.
8 times in a row, incredible.
Although I gotta admit, I can't think about lizards eating otters. I'm sorry.
Oh, that was great. That was it. I loved it. I loved it.
And that would be why Raul disapproved.
But yeah, so any closing thoughts today, Niall, on any of the games that we've seen here in the top 32?
Yeah, I mean, standard is still in a really cool spot where there's a lot of deck diversity and it really is rewarding of the high skill play and we see that all the time on display in the VML. So it is an honor to be allowed to cast it and it was such a treat to get to commentate with you tonight.
Thank you.
But yeah, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, this was our first time doing comms, so again, I
Mhm.
wanna thank Niall as well. I had a blast doing comms with you, just a lot of fun, learned a lot, you know? I always tell folks, it's one thing to watch Magic, but then to learn something while watching, you just
Mhm.
never stop
Mhm.
learning, never stop growing. And again, great congratulations again to everyone who's played in this VML season. It is very intimidating to be in this league, so just signing up and giving it your best, it goes a long way. So please continue to sign up for VML in the future, y'all.
Yeah.
So, yes, Niall, if people wanted to find you, where could they find you on the interwebs?
They can find me everywhere. It's harder to stay away from me at this point, honestly. To Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Blue Sky, everywhere. Add NileJoanRivers. Come find me. I make stuff about magic.
Y'all better follow Niall too. Niall has a ton of amazing posts. I have fun seeing them, especially on
Thank you.
Twitter
Thank
and
you.
Blue Sky. So please be sure to give Niall a follow. Also, for me, I am Skybilz pretty much everywhere. SKYBILZ. That is on Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and of course Blue Sky. Blue Sky is awesome. There now too. And you'll see some magic stuff from me. Going to be playing a lot with foundations this week. That is like my most excited thing I'm doing. But I also do speedrunning. I got into awesome games done quick this winter. So I look forward to playing the Nintendo World Championships there. It should be a lot of fun. And Phoebe, be sure to plug your info in the chat as well. We could not do this without you, Phoebe. Much love to you. Thank you so much for doing everything, literally all the things behind the scenes. Thank you so much for that, Phoebe. So, again, thanks to Phoebe, to Wizards, our admin team, our casters, our players, and of course, you, the viewers. We've had a lot of fun having y'all in chat. And of course, thanks again to Niall for being here with me. It has been a great honor. So, that is going to do it. We will see you back here for the top 16 next week. I'm Skybilz, and we have NileJoanRivers as well here for the Venus and Mercury League. We will see you here next week. Thank you so much, and good evening.
Bye.